3 words, and everything he had sworn never to feel again shifted beneath his feet. 6 years earlier, Daniel had buried his wife on a rainy Wednesday. The earth was heavy, the sky relentless, and the grief inside him so loud it drowned out every sound. He remembered standing there with his 4-year-old daughter, Lily, clinging to his hand, her tiny fingers trembling as the coffin disappeared into the ground. In that moment, he made a vow that felt like survival. He would never love again. He would pour every broken piece of his heart into his child and nowhere else. Love had taken too much. He would not risk losing himself again. The years that followed were not gentle, but they were faithful. Daniel learned to braid Lily's hair with clumsy fingers. He burned countless dinners, packed school lunches with crooked sandwiches, and sat through school plays filmed shakily from the 3rd row. He worked long shifts at the auto repair shop and returned home tired but present. Their little house became a world of two. Quiet. Safe. Untouched by new attachment. Then Lily turned 10 and everything began to change. She grew taller, louder, brighter. Her laughter filled the house in new ways. And one afternoon, she bounced through the door with a kind of excitement Daniel hadn't seen before. She talked non-stop about her new teacher, Miss Clara. How she made math fun. How she stayed late to help students who struggled. How she smiled with her whole face. Daniel nodded through it all, half listening, politely uninterested. Teachers came and went. This one would be no different. Until the knock. Daniel opened the door slowly, expecting maybe a parent from the neighborhood or a delivery he had forgotten. Instead, he found a woman standing on his porch gripping a folder to her chest. Her eyes were warm but nervous. Her hair was pulled back neatly. Rain misted the evening air around her. "Hi," she said softly. "I'm Clara. Lily's teacher." The world stilled for half a second. Daniel felt something stir inside him that hadn't moved in years. Not hope. Something more dangerous. Awareness. Lily rushed between them, beaming. "I told her you'd be home. She wanted to talk about my reading." Daniel stepped aside without thinking. "Of course. Come in." That evening changed everything. At first, it was just school matters. Lily's progress. Her struggles with focus. Her imagination that wandered faster than her pen could keep up. Clara spoke gently but directly, and Daniel listened in a way he hadn't listened to anyone in a long time. When she left, the house felt quieter than it had before she arrived. Lily hugged him good night with a satisfied smile, as if she had just set something important in motion. Daniel told himself it was nothing. But Clara came again. And again. Sometimes for school reasons. Sometimes because Lily forgot a notebook on purpose. Slowly, conversations moved beyond homework. They talked about movies. About childhood memories. About grief, without using the word. Daniel never mentioned his wife directly, but Clara sensed the shape of the wound. She never pushed. She let silence do its work. The first real challenge came not from Daniel, but from the world around him. Whispers started at school. Parents who disapproved. A few sideways glances. A rumor that the teacher was getting too close to a student's father. Clara pulled back, frightened of risking her job. Daniel felt rejected without having ever reached. That old vow of his rose like a shield. He told himself this was why he had sworn never to love again. Love invited loss. Love invited judgment. Love complicated what had once been simple. Lily noticed the change immediately. "Why doesn't Miss Clara come anymore?" she asked one evening. Daniel hesitated. "Sometimes people get busy." Lily stared at him for a moment with an understanding far older than her years. "Dad, you look lonely again." The word struck him deeper than any accusation. Days passed in uncomfortable distance. Then weeks. And then came the letter. Clara wrote to him, explaining everything. The rumors. The warnings from administration. Her fear of crossing a line that didn't exist officially but hovered threateningly in the air. She ended the letter with one sentence that Daniel read over and over. "I care about you, but I cannot afford to lose my purpose." That night, Daniel sat alone in the dark kitchen, the letter in his hands, realizing something terrifying. He had already crossed the line he swore he never would. He had allowed himself to feel again. And now he was afraid of losing it. The second challenge came quietly, from within. Daniel's guilt grew like a shadow. Every moment of warmth he felt toward Clara clashed with the memory of his late wife. He felt like a traitor to the woman he had loved first. At the grave one rainy evening, he finally spoke the truth out loud for the first time. "I didn't forget you," he whispered. "But I don't think I can keep living like this either." That was the night he decided not to run anymore. The next day, Daniel went to the school. He didn't ask for Clara. He asked for the principal. He spoke calmly. Honestly. He explained that his interest in Clara had grown unintentionally, that his priority was and always would be his daughter's well-being. That there had been no boundaries crossed. That whatever happened between adults would never interfere with the classroom. The war he feared never came. Instead, the principal listened. Boundaries were reinforced. Conversations were documented. Transparency restored trust. Clara wasn't punished. But she was shaken. And so was he. Weeks later, Lily brought home a school project about family. At the bottom of the page, in crooked handwriting, she had drawn 3 figures holding hands. One tall. One small. One with long hair. That night, Daniel called Clara. Not with passion. Not with pressure. With respect. "I don't want to be a secret," he said. "And I don't want to pretend I don't care. But I also don't want to cost you your future." There was a long pause on the line. "I'm tired of pretending I don't care too," Clara replied. They started slowly. Publicly. Carefully. Coffee instead of dinners. Walks instead of hidden conversations. Lily watched every step with quiet approval. The third challenge came from Lily herself. One afternoon, she asked the question Daniel feared most. "Does loving Miss Clara mean you don't love Mom anymore?" Daniel sat on the edge of her bed, his throat tight. "No, sweetheart. It means my heart grew. It didn't replace anything." "But will you leave me if you love again?" she asked. Daniel pulled her into his arms. Never. Only then did Lily truly allow it. Children sense emotional truth long before adults do. Once her fear faded, she became the strongest bridge between them. The final challenge came when Clara was offered a promotion at a school in another city. It was everything she had worked for. Everything she deserved. But it would take her away from them. Daniel told her to go. Not because he didn't love her, but because he loved her too much to cage her inside his own fear. For the first time in his life, he chose love without possession. She left. Months passed. Silence returned to the house, but it no longer felt empty. It felt hopeful. Then, one evening, the knock came again. This time, it wasn't hesitant. Daniel opened the door to find Clara standing there with a suitcase and tears in her eyes. "I turned it down," she said. "Because some things are promotions in ways a title can't describe." Lily screamed with joy. Daniel stood frozen for only a moment before pulling them both into his arms. Years later, when Lily stood at her graduation and introduced Clara as her stepmother, Daniel finally understood what love had taught him the hard way. Love does not erase pain. It redeems it. Love does not betray the past. It honors it.